Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live, the character customizer in Alpha 323. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And if you've never seen the show before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end of our week, invite some of our esteemed Star Citizen developers onto the show, and we ask them questions provided by you, the Star Citizen connoisseur, and make them answer them live. So we have a lot of questions that have a lot of in-depth answers, so we're going to jump right into it. We're going to avoid the normal dumb assery that I do at the beginning. I kind of just ran into it trying to avoid it, didn't I? Let's get to the introductions, shall we? Joining us from studios from around the world via Zoom, we've got Forrest Steffen from Los Angeles. Forrest, say hi. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hi, Forrest Steffen, principal technical artist. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
From our friends in the Great White North, Montreal, we've got Andre. Andre, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hey, so I'm a lead artist here at CIG, and basically I take care of all the art related to the hair, the creation, and the placement of all the hairs on our heads.
Okay. Jacob, I forgot to think about what studio you're in. Jacob, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hey, I'm Jacob.
You're here,
I'm in
right?
Manchester.
You're just in the other corner.
Just across the way from you. Yeah, I'm a gameplay programmer on the Squadron 42 feature team here in Manchester.
Right.
And I take care of the sort of main front-end implementation of the character customizer.
Yeah, it's just like, the reason I blocked it, because you're in a portion of our office we haven't shown yet. We made you blur your background.
Yeah, it's secret office location.
Okay. Gabriel, also here in Manchester. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
So I'm a systems designer for the core gameplay design here in the design team here in Manchester. And yeah, I'm also in a secret location.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot more of you in the recent weeks, and in the coming weeks, you're involved in several of the new features that are coming online with Alpha 323. So, when they said you were moving over from Squadron to Star Citizen, did you know how many videos you'd have to do?
No, I did not. But yeah, I'm settling in, I guess. I made sure to put my nicest shirt on here. This is an homage to Attil last week in his honk shirt. So I hope that someone next week will carry on this trend. Make sure that we're referencing someone's shirt from this week for sure.
In 2 weeks. Next week's a holiday because company holiday because of Easter and stuff. So, and then last but certainly not least, from Frankfurt, Andreas. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hey, I'm Andreas. I'm a principal technical artist as well, like Forrest. I'm actually working in the tech animation team, so I'm probably rather a technical animator than a technical artist. And I work on the DNA backend, on the facial pipeline, on everything to do with like making our characters look realistic and especially move and deform realistically in our games.
Gotcha. Joran in the chat says, everybody tell Jared we need a studio tour, long overdue. It's almost right. There's a few little things that Chris wants to finish up in the studio, and he doesn't want to show you guys everything until it's all done. So in case you wonder why whenever we film in the office, we're always like pointing the cameras out the windows and stuff. We promised him we would package it all in a nice thing. So we're almost there this year, hopefully. All right, we're going to jump into the questions now. We got a bunch of questions coming in that were submitted by you, the Star Citizen backer, on Spectrum, which is our bespoke communication platform, available at robertspaceindustries.com. We're going to jump right into it. The first group of questions here are all sort of focused on how the character creator or customizer is used by people. So, first question. Will all the heads from the existing character creator be included in the new version? How much of this is new, and how much of it is built on what we currently have?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Gabriel, do you want to take it?
Me? No, I think Andreas.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. So all the heads that have been in the PU previously are going to be in the new one. There are actually going to be some in the background that you don't see, but you can access through one of the customization modes. They're like partially activated because we're still polishing their face rigs, so we haven't fully activated them. And we're obviously, like I think at CitizenCon we've mentioned, like Forrest mentioned, that we're working on adding 60 more heads total to the customizer, and we're still working on that. But they will come in the future when they're ready.
Gotcha. So then,
And then,
go ahead. No,
oh,
go ahead,
go ahead.
Forrest. No, go ahead, Forrest.
And then just to kind of follow up on that, not only did we, we have the heads that, previously existed, all the heads that previously existed, but what we've also done is we've given them a visual facelift as well. Like we've calibrated their skin tones, we've increased skin detail, we've, balanced maps, specular maps, gloss maps. And so not only are we, kind of improving the pool and all this stuff, but we're also giving everything that existed a great facelift. So I think it'll be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that's been really great. It's been cool to see everything that Forrest has been able to achieve with the old skins and see the difference that it really makes to give these updates to getting the correct tones, and that we can use this new color picker system to allow the players to pick just from there, not making it overly complex.
I hear that.
Well, and this means that we can also now apply any skin tone on top of any set of skin textures. So, if you don't like the positions and stuff of the wrinkles in one skin texture from a previous character customizer, but you like the skin tone, then you can mix and match now a bit better.
So will all the functionality of the existing character creator will carry over to the new one. And the next question is the head blending is also still in the new version as well?
Yeah, so
Probably
as
showed that.
part of the new blending UI, we have made it so that you have this full list of heads now. Instead of just blending from one to the other, you get a list where you can easily just click anywhere. So you can click on, for example, someone's nose and just drag on the nose, and that turns into this slider where you immediately get more and more of the DNA from that nose. And for that full head blending, we have made it so that when you hover just on the outside of the head, then you will see that the whole thing gets hovered, and then you can get all of the DNA from the full head.
So all of the existing functionality plus all the new sculpting and stuff, and then makeup and all that stuff.
Yeah. But I guess some of the functionality will be different in that, as you hopefully heard Jacob say last week, it's doing the kind of same things, but in a nicer way, where it's like we have color pickers, etc. It's just way easier to use now. So hopefully it covers everything, but it's better.
Gotcha.
Can I quickly reiterate on the blending mode versus sculpting mode? So like previously we've had a version of blending, but that was actually rather tedious to use. Like just you always had to go from the slider to select one of the regions, go back to the slider, change the head, like your source head. And right now you have the list of heads, and you can, like as Gabriel mentioned, you can click right on the feature, right on the nose, and start dragging it in, and you see it being blended in. You can drag it back. You have like undo, redo functionality in there. So even the existing mode is going to be much more convenient to use, and it has its own strengths. And yeah, I guess like Gabriel can talk more on the new sculpting mode. Don't take anything away from that.
So if all the existing faces are in there, are all the existing hairs moving over too? Or are we losing some hairs and gaining some others?
We are gaining some others, and the other ones that were there are still there. So the new ones we just released on the last update, they're there, and now we have a few more that are going to come. It's also amazing to see like the way the sculpting works with the hairs, because it goes seamlessly with the head that you're changing. So it's a very great job that I think the character customizer team did on that. I was really surprised to see the hair just blend with the face as well.
Yeah.
Very, very good result.
So next question is where do we use the character customizer? Is it strictly outside the verse, or will there be things like barbershops or salons and major landing zones?
So for this iteration of the character, like it's obviously a full character customizer. So you wouldn't go to the barber and go like, oh, I want a new nose as well, right? So this is going to be a thing. In the future, we're hopefully going to get calliope machines, as they are known, these character customizers in the verse. So you'll be able to go to landing zones and find your calliope machine there, pay a fee for getting your new look, as it were, and you'll have the full deal. Like everything that you see in the character customizer, you can change your character to be that.
Okay. So on the front end, and then eventually with these machines that are scattered throughout the verse.
Yeah, and obviously right now we do get the possibility to change your character every time you log into the game. You can go into character customization, and that's going to be true for the foreseeable future. But down the line, it's going to be more, you make your character, that's who you are, and then you can go to the Calliope machines in game to remake it.
Gotcha.
That makes perfect sense, right? I mean, if you're playing a role play game, you shouldn't be committed to just the style that you selected on the first day that you created your character. The next day you might be a miner, and in 2 weeks you might be a captain in an admiralship or something, and you want your character to change and to do stuff to it. So it's obviously it's important that we get this ability to change your character as we go, not just at the beginning of your game, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at, I mean, I just when Sean made that challenge to people or whatever, I put up a picture of, I went and found a quick picture of myself for the 11 years I've worked here and whatever. Even that was just like, geez, okay, I've changed quite a bit. But there are people, I know people in this office who, every 2 weeks they've got a new hairstyle in real life. So you extrapolate that out nearly 1,000 years in the future. Yeah, you should be able to just change your appearance whenever you want. Some more questions about how it's used. How does the load and save functionality behave after major updates and wipes? Can some saved presets become incompatible with newer updates, and will we be required to redo them? Or is it safe to say that when we create our character, they will always be available for use in the game, no matter what updates may come out?
So there's sort of two sides to save and load, right? So there's the saving, as in when you save your character to our servers, our persistence database, and then that's the one that loads in every time you enter the PU. And what we're also introducing is long-term persistence for that character, so that should also be able to be maintained between wipes. But then the other side of save and load, what we've added with the new character customizer is the ability to save out custom head files. So that's a single file that contains everything you need to build your character. So that's your gender, your DNA string, your hair, your eyebrows, your beard, if you want one. And the new thing is also all the custom materials that we have. So backwards compatibility as being a huge part of developing that, and something that we're really keen on keeping with every patch. So the dream is that we should be able to load in any custom head file from any previous patch into the current patch. Now, I can't really make any promises about if something becomes problematic and we have to remove that feature, or how that feature works entirely, or do a massive overhaul. So for example, if we for some reason have to completely change how makeup works in the future, then that part of the character we might have to discard from older files, or run some sort of conversion, which is the preferred way of doing it, some non-destructive conversion on that part of the file, so that when you load it in, you might not get exactly the same makeup, but you'll be able to get like as close as possible. So I guess the short answer is yes, these files are intended to be backwards compatible, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that from 3.23 onwards, you'll be able to load any file saved now in any future patch.
Good answer.
I think that also goes for kind of the art side too. It may not look exactly the same, but that might also mean that we've made improvements to something. Maybe we've kind of fine-tuned the way the makeup works after seeing people use it, or maybe we've adjusted the way that I don't know. I guess it's just makeup.
Updated an hairstyle as well.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So
it's conceivable we might alter or update an individual hairstyle, and you would just get the newer version of the hairstyle as opposed to the old one. Okay.
Correct.
Some folks some questions in the chat about editing that save file offline. My understanding, when I looked at the save file that you exported for me the other day, it was encrypted and stuff. So this isn't the kind of thing that folks can go in with a text editor.
Yeah, right now, so the save file is an encrypted and compressed binary file. It's not an easy thing to read. It's designed to be as small as possible and is just designed to be specifically read by our systems. So right now, the only things that can read the file are the character customizer and the actor systems that actually implement that file onto a character. So we've got no plans to actually roll out anything to aid the community in reading the files.
Yeah. But you said that right now, this is a very industrious community, and don't take that as a challenge, but if you want to.
Also, Jacob is being humble. He could read binary as well.
Well, it's encrypted binary. It's not just straight binary. So what's the lore behind the character creator? Was there some kind of company, or there was some kind of company named in the background, if I remember correctly. I'm reading the question. It was Biotic Corp, right?
Yeah, so Biotic Corp in the Star Citizen universe, they are this massive medical technology giant. So they really try to be at the forefront of all tech progress when it comes to just anything medical. And this machine is called the Calliope machine. So Calliope is one of the Greek muses. Apparently, these muses would all be incredibly beautiful, right? So the idea of the Calliope machine that you can achieve the unattainable beauty of one of the muses, really. So yeah, that's a short version of the background. I'm sure you can find more Biotic Corp info online if you're really interested.
Yeah, I think they have a Galactopedia entry and stuff.
Could,
Yeah. And if
could I be honest?
Oh, good.
I had to practice saying Calliope like for 30 minutes before this call because I just could not read that word. Now it is the same lore in Squadron too, right? The biotech with Calliope and all that stuff. It all seamlessly has continuity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Chat is going off about whether it's Calliope or Calliope, or there's several pronunciations being drawn into chat. And I'm going to say it like everybody else says. It's a tomato thing. It all depends on what region of whatever you come from. They're both right. They're all right. And they're all individual to whoever's named it. So, okay, next question. Will we be able to change the facial expressions, scene settings, and lighting in the review tab? Using character creators in general, I often find myself creating a beautiful toon just to learn how ugly it looks once it's placed into the actual game.
I'll start off with a disclaimer, no promises. Is it technically doable? Yes, it's technically doable. One thing that we do like to do internally, especially with the physical-based rendering engine, is we like to look at our assets in multiple lighting conditions just to even review them. Because whenever you do something physically accurate, it should theoretically work in any lighting condition that you put it in. And that is a way that we do reviews. And we are using the tool, the character creator internally to also create characters and stuff. So I could see how that could be something that we would also want internally, and again, technically possible, but no promises. I just want to throw that disclaimer out there.
And go ahead. No, go ahead.
And for the facial animations, we will keep the face over IP functionality that we've seen in the old character customizer as well. So that's one way of seeing other facial expressions than what's just the default animation. But we also have, just when you finish making your character and move on to the review page, you will see that they do a little animation. So you will see a little bit of personality on them there as well. But as Forrest said, we do have some dreams of what could be done here for sure. I remember me and Forrest discussing some things back in the day. I don't even want to mention them because I don't want to sow any seeds of hope to anyone. But we had some stupid ideas.
I hear you.
Some fun, some dumb.
Yeah.
If I may, I'd like to add one thing regarding like facial animation or the face breaking afterwards, or looking different afterwards. So one of the I think quite important things, and the things we are quite proud of regarding our face rigs, is that they animate properly. So in certain single player games we make, they need to show up right next to AAA actors, so every face can animate in a way that will allow you to lip sync. Now with VoIP, obviously that doesn't always come through that way. It can produce less than optimal results. So at some point that's got to be revisited as well. We're quite aware of that results are sometimes a bit involuntarily funny. But theoretically, the face can emote just fine outside of the customizer. Obviously, the lighting quality in the levels is not as well designed as it is in the customizer, right? We've had like lighting artists really perfect the lighting in there, and in some parts of the level it may look super great as well, and others may look more average. But yeah, that's expected.
That's real life.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like Andre's been sitting quietly and patiently and so well behaved while we get to some hair questions. So let's jump into some hair questions here. Does star hair work with beards? I.e., do they have any physics or movement, or are they static?
No, they have physics for sure. I'm probably not the best guy to talk about the physics about it. I'm sure Andreas and Forrest can tell a bit more about this. But yeah, we currently use the pendulous system, which star hair, it's what we're aiming for. And right now we're using a intermediary way of basically simulating the hair. So but yes, in short, the beards will have and the facial hairs will have the same type of physics applied than the hairs do. So yeah, definitely.
You want to add to that, Andreas?
Yeah, especially like the full beards, like the large ones, will have some degree of like motion and collision with the chest, I guess. Using, like Andre said, the kind of legacy pendulum system that still gives like good results. Ultimately, we're aiming to implement star cloth on everything because it's gonna look better. But that is still like in like R&D phase. We still need to flesh it out together with yeah, star cloth, star hair. It's pretty much the same group of physical solvers. Their like backend, the solver itself is already quite powerful. We need to do a lot of tooling around those so we can efficiently implement dozens and dozens of assets with them at some point. And that's always like a longer process. So initially you make a prototype, you get the core solver, for instance, up to a certain state that you can show I can reach this and that quality, but then it's always an extra step to develop tools, pipelines to allow artists and technical artists to work with that efficiently and achieve good results in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, and I can add
But-
to that by saying that even the construction of the hair itself needs to be done in a different manner if you're looking into using the star cloth, the star hair and star cloth that we're aiming for. So it works well with the pendulum right now. It is made that way. It's optimized that way. But if we wanted to really push the simulation, the hairs itself needs to be constructed artistically in a different manner.
Okay.
It's basically.
Can I just say how cool it is when you rotate your character and you see the heads in the sidebar with even those hairs are all moving. So you have like so many different heads with so many different simulations happening.
Sure.
I love
Yeah,
that part.
it's something we're actually pretty proud of. Something we do that other customizers don't is that we update the small heads on the side to match your own appearance. So the heads that show the hairstyles should all like match the appearance of the main head that you've customized, or you already get a preview.
The real-time thumbnail, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not just a picture, it's a real head fully simulating. I mean,
Mhm.
it's impressive.
Okay. Chat, I see your question. Can we have long hairs below shoulders and still be able to hide it while wearing a helmet, or is there some sort of technical limitation? Is there going to be a consideration made for longer hairstyles to be fully displayed from underneath hats?
I can get that. So basically, we would have, as a game, we would have to limit the hair at some point. Okay, the limitation that we currently impose on ourselves was to do it up to the shoulders, and this is an agreement that we've done. in order to minimize clipping and in order to function with all the things that the character needs to work with, of course. Now, it's not that we technically could not do the hair longer or that we could not simulate it longer or whatever, but at some point we would have to limit it. I mean, how long would it go? Would it be, if we had up to the shoulders or a bit up to the shoulders, would you like it up to the waist? And if we do it to the waist, would you like it up to the feet? So at some point we will have to draw the line, and right now it's where the draw is drawn, where the line is drawn, basically. And that's it for the size that we are achieving right now, or that we want to deliver right now. Though head hairs and mask hairs right now, I think I can safely say this, that by 323 you're going to be able to basically choose a long hair, put a hat on, and the hair will just adapt to it. It's not actually an adaptation of the hair to it. It's actually replacing the asset. That's what we did. We created a specific asset for the heads and for the masks. So basically, to answer your question, yes, from 3.23 onwards, if you choose a long hair, you basically put your mask or your hat, and you will see your hairstyle, not just something else. You see your hairstyle deformed to that specific hairstyle, and that's and with physics and all, and so everything still works. It's just compressed on whatever that object is tightening you, basically.
Yeah, I saw this the other week and I was blown away. It looks so good. I'm so happy to see Andre's stuff every time. It's just a joy.
Might be worth
awesome.
adding that. So
Okay.
might be worth adding that even just the variation that Andre described kind of multiplies the number of assets that each department has to deal with. So Andre's department in tech art, maybe they start out with I don't know, 30 hairs or 40 hairs. Then they need to conform them. Like, let's say they groom them on the male, what we call the male standard Protoss head. They need to conform that to the female head. Then they need to, like, that doubles the number of assets. Then they need to create the hat hair variants that again doubles that number of assets. And so you can imagine like how that number like exponentially would grow if we didn't apply like very strict rule sets to where the hats are allowed to sit and where the volumes are. Yeah, what the restrictions are. We have to limit those. Otherwise, it's like unbounded amount of work.
Yeah, Andreas, just to confirm what you're saying, basically, each air asset that we create, you can multiply it by 4. That's basically that. It needs to go onto the male, the female, the head hair, or by 4? No, by more, because you have female head hair and male head hair. So it's just each hairstyle just gets multiplied by a lot. So it's this is what is actually taking a bit more time, and we wanted to include this stuff. So we can create hairstyles really fast now, but now each hairstyle needs to just go with all this stuff that in order to be implemented correctly and to deliver everything, because we want you guys to use the your hairstyle, and then you put your hat and suddenly you see your hairstyle with the hat, and you remove it and you get back to your hairstyle. So this is a very cool achievement that we just got.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. I know technical art team working with Andre, and basically we have templates, and within those templates, it will represent a hat, and then the hair needs to be, kind of adjusted based on these templates. But every time you have a new template for a new type of hat or whatever, that's an additional asset, right? So, they could definitely stack up quite a bit. So kudos for, supporting all of these variations of outfits. It's cool.
Zafita in the chat says, "Are you going to stop adding features?" No. I encourage you to check out the most recent letter for the chairman and how MMO games continue to just develop, hopefully for years and years and years. They're still adding stuff to World of Warcraft, for Pete's sake. So, no. Will we be able to dye a specific strain of hair? Or is it, or will it be possible to change hair and beard colors as separate entities, or are they always going to be changed simultaneously?
So the separate strand of hair, I think, is not going to be possible. So what we're doing with the hair dye, and maybe Forrest can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it is essentially a randomization. So we're not letting you pick that, oh, I want this part to be this other shade. But we do allow the player to obviously do some pretty funky stuff with the hair. But it won't be that in depth at this point. No.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say, Andre, if you want to talk a little more
No,
about
go
the.
ahead. Go ahead if you want to say something.
I was actually gonna pass it over to you, maybe about the masking and stuff like that, and the way that we can control the
Yeah,
location and all that stuff.
yeah. I was at CitizenCon and I showed them a
Yeah.
hair half dyed orange and half dyed blue. So
Right.
this might have caused a bit of confusion. So I did mention at CitCon that what we were showing is the tools that we have. So just like you said before, a little disclaimer: can we do it? Do we have the technology to do it? Yes, but I can immediately ask you guys here. Like, there's an amount of problems that comes up with trying to get just a specific part of the hair painted, which would be like, would we allow the players to paint directly? On the hair like we do with the sculpting by pulling parts? Would they be able to just, I just want my dye over here, and that would just go to the hair and get assigned to your character? Or would we have preset masks that we say like halfway or patterns or whatever? Or would we allow the players to upload their own masks to do their dye thing? So all this, in technology wise, tool wise, it is possible, but it's not just doable to do it out of nowhere. There's a lot of implications with this, which is all the textures that would need to be added to the game, and everything that happens in an MMO with everyone running around, and all the memory that we would occupy and all that. So all these questions need to be answered before we come up with a system that would allow people to customize the dye even further. For now, and looking back 6 months of where we were and where we are now in terms of hair, I think everyone in the community should be really happy with having the dye like that, being able to actually having a gradient that goes up and down, choosing the color that you want, and having it work the way it is. It's already such a great progress over the last 6 months. So we never know what's going to bring in time. We have the tools to do bespoke characters like this. Imagine if there was an NPC that was very specific at this hairstyle. We wanted to do something crazy about his hair. Yeah, but why? Because I could paint a mask for him specifically for that. But it's just not something that it's doable in a very short time to hand to the players and say, listen guys, you can now do whatever you want to do with the dye. So yeah, not in our agenda right now. Who knows in the future, basically.
No,
Yeah, and it also compounds as like a UX problem where when you get too many features in there, it's going to be really hard to make that a good user experience. To just try and make your own character. Here's like a billion different things, but of course it's more of a technical question at this point.
I think you underestimate some people, Gabe. There are people who spend 5 hours just in the character creators alone. It's like
I know.
Those are games in and of themselves, my friend.
I know, and that's really what we tried to make here, something that you can spend a lot of time in, but not because it's hard to use. Like this UI should be sleek and nice, and I think the UI team has done an awesome job of making it so, really.
Everybody's happy to hear all that, except for E-Tech in the chat, who says, why would anyone want to use resources on hair when there's way more important things in such a large-scale game? Even talking about hair for this long is troubling. Well, E-Tech, in a company of 1,300 people across 5 studios, across 4 countries, there's literally Andre and the people here who are working on this right now. So it's a pretty small, dedicated team who are spending 20 minutes out of one afternoon talking about it. So I think when you put it in perspective, it's not so bad.
Yeah,
No, if we had no hair, we would have really good performance. No, I'm just kidding.
You did. Well, there was a version of Star Citizen when we had no hair, remember? Back in the Hangar module days. All right.
Yeah. And I'd also like to emphasize on that, like that this tool was developed obviously for the backers primarily, but was also developed in a way with some extra debug UI things you can activate as a developer, like on top of the UI the backers get. So we as devs can customize NPCs with the system for both the PU and Squadron, and that's why it's an important tool for us, and the fact that it's so powerful is enabling us to make NPCs quickly that look unique and look special and high quality. And
It's a point that was somewhat glossed over in the show, but this is literally the same tool that we're using internally to make NPCs for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. So this is work not just for the players; it's work for us, for the game that we can share with the players.
And developers are way, way more demanding than the players as well.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for Squadron, that's the other thing is we got hair, and the hair needs to look great. And Andreas making up some great hair, and that hair, goes into Squadron. And then we also, like we said, wanted to get everything propagated to Star Citizen. So it's like, why not put it in Star Citizen? We already need it for Squadron. Let's double our wins and get it over to SC.
Yeah. So one last question about hair before we move on to other topics, so that E-Tech can relax a bit. What's next for hair? At CitizenCon, we showed a number of culturally diverse and representative hairstyles, some of which were deemed game ready, but they're still not in 323, things like the Mohawk and stuff like that. What can you tell us about the future of hair beyond 323?
Well, first thing is there's going to be a lot more variety. That's the first thing. So all the questions that were in Spectrum relating, are we going to get this, are we going to get that, the dreadlocks, this and that, all that, the answer is yes, you are going to get all that. I have no doubt about it, because that's the direction everything is going. Some of these assets are already done as well. So that's predictable for you guys, and very easy for me to say yes, they're going to come. The idea is basically to release these as well, themed with the updates that we're getting. So I'd imagine when Pyro actually comes to the verse and goes live, you're going to have more Mohawks, and you're going to have dreadlocks and urban style and grungy hairstyles. And when other things which would be more formal, then you get more formal hairstyles and clean and slick. So we're going to try and direct it and team it that way, because it just makes sense, that you go to another system and then you get that hairstyle and you get a new piece of clothing or whatever, then you come back to Stanton and you clearly been somewhere else. So that's the logic of it. But from their hair, there's also two other big areas that I think that will happen at some time. One of them I know is going to happen sooner than the other, but which is basically fur and stuff that will go on in uniforms and clothing and armors, which is a possibility. And the other one is creatures and animals as well. So hair is going to go into that as well. We're on a very early phase of research and development in that, but it is a direction. It is going to happen, and that's basically the direction the hair is going. So basically, and resuming, a lot more hairstyles, variety, allowing you guys to actually express yourselves the way you want hair wise. For those who want to keep wearing the helmet, just fire ahead. But then we need all this fauna to have fur, to have hair, and to have and to be enhanced in this manner as well. So this is where the hair artistically is going.
All right, now I'll do one more hair question just to appease the chat and see if I can't tick E-Tech off a little bit more. What about an Ace Ventura hairstyle? The chat's been going on and on about an Ace Ventura hairstyle for the last 30 minutes.
I'm gonna be honest. So when I arrived at CIG, the mission was to remove those hairstyles and add new ones. That was the thing. I'm also a backer. I played Star Citizen quite a while, and I was actually fed up with the hairstyles myself. So being the hair artist that was going to change it, I felt really proud to remove them. But if there is a specific hairstyle that you guys want to see back, I mean, I have no problem in picking it up and trying to put it back. I mean, if there's that will to get it done, for sure.
Right.
Can't promise it when, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys can make the enough pressure for that to happen. I wouldn't be against it at all.
All right. So for those of you who are watching and care about such a thing, if you want Ace Ventura hairstyle to come back, you can go to social media, jump on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and send a message to _John Crew saying Ace Ventura hair, please. If we get enough messages sent to _John Crew on Twitter, Ace Ventura hair, please, we'll consider adding Ace Ventura hair back.
Great stuff.
All right, let's jump into the more the detail stuff.
I believe it was already then. Correct.
Alrighty then. All right. So a lot of questions. This is just going to be a lot of questions combined into one. A lot of questions about different body types, heights, sizes, muscle definition. We've had a lot of statements on this before. Star Citizen's been in development for a while. New technologies have come online, stuff. So it's a question we tend to revisit periodically after a while. So what can you tell us now, as the truth as of 2024? We're in 2024 about different body sizes, shapes, tall, short, skinny, not skinny. What can you tell us? Why yes, why no? What's the scoop?
I guess I take that one.
Okay.
So yeah, regarding body customization, it's simply a super hard problem to solve. It consists mainly of two problems that I think we can like differentiate. One is like body shape customization. So that's more about like being able to blend between a skinny type and a like heavy type, and maybe like a super on steroids bodybuilder type. These kinds of shapes. We could technically do this already with the way the DNA system works currently. The question is, what happens with the attachments? And like for the head customization, we've developed runtime wrap deformers, which can like scale helmets, which can conform beards to the changing face shapes in a way that keeps the art like intact and keeps like the art directors happy, no distortions and stuff like that. That works on the face. The same deformation tech applied to bodies would break in many cases. So while we can already morph the body shape, we cannot conform the attachments in a good way right now. So that's the big problem, one of the two big problems we need to solve for that. And the other thing is regarding like body height changes and limb length changes. This is another super hard thing to do because that affects all animations in the game. Like if you imagine like a character holding like a pistol, or even holding a mug and moving that to his mouth to drink something. Currently in the game, we have like tens of thousands of animations that have been also authored with so-called like forward kinematic. Like every bone in the skeleton defines its rotation over time, and that's how the arm moves towards the mouth, and then you get the impression that they drink something without spilling anything. Like imagine we just scaled like the length of the neck, for instance, or the length of the arm, like your mug would end up somewhere else. So you need at runtime retarget that animation. And while we already use like inverse kinematics in many places, characters pushing buttons, reaching for things, there's like a lot of procedural elements to our animation already. Like doing that for the entire body and for all animations requires like massive changes to the like animation back end. But yeah, we have all intentions to tackle those problems. But personally, I have some good ideas for how we can fix the first problem about like the conformation of the attachments. And then we have like smart animation programmers, Ivo that I've been on stage with 2018 in Austin. He's somebody that has the knowledge and the brains to fix that hard retargeting problem, but it's going to be a lot of work. But it'll be worth it because yeah, everybody having the same height is not great. But I think as a first step, we could, for instance, tackle just the shape changes, which would already give us like some big gains.
Because we kind of already do it with the head, right? Like if you're, when we're in the DNA customizer and we make the head larger, you're gonna, in the game, you're gonna put a helmet on. Well, that helmet's not gonna fit anymore. So the technical artists go in there and they mark up these assets to be able to deform based on the deformation of the DNA head. But then obviously there's not, quite limited here and limited movement. Then you introduce a whole body set. It's a lot of data that you're going to have to mark up and stuff like that. So that's another one of the challenges. But I think the head was kind of the first step, a little bit, and now we're moving into the difficult part, right?
Yeah, and that's also like body customization immediately has like implications on gameplay. Like when you have a larger character, that's gonna need like a larger like hit volume, right? I don't know. I hope not all players will then like shrink themselves. So maybe you want to balance that with like, yeah, larger characters. The characters can run faster, carry more, stuff like that. But it will affect a lot of systems once it comes online.
Yeah.
But like one more thing I'd like to add regarding like what the state of this is. So initially, like our DNA system, which is the system that allows us to morph the heads and the faces and conform the attachments, that was developed specifically for heads initially. That was around 2018, 2019. And we've then used it on heads, like the system. There have been systems that have been built around that system. So the code making use of that backend grew and grew and grew. So at some point, we already knew like we want to tackle bodies at some point, but we have a system that is very bespoke to faces. So I've worked for almost 2 years, not full time, but like half time, on a refactor of that DNA system, with the goal of getting it into a position where we can actually start tackling the body customization problem. So that was finished last year. And there are other priorities like gene pool head extension and giving us like 60 more heads, and the rigging pipeline that needs to be set up, and the tools around that in order to even be able to create fully rigged, nicely animating heads. That also takes a lot of time. So yeah, it's a resource and priority issue.
Okay.
Not an issue, but
And because you're working on this, someone doesn't have their Banu merchantman.
No.
That's for about 4 people in chat. All right. So it sounds like the 10-cent summary version of that is that different body shapes are something that we want to do. Different body shapes are something that we're pursuing part-time on the side in between a whole bunch of other higher priorities and stuff. Nobody should expect it soon, but it's definitely something that is progressing, that we're still investigating, and something that we very much want to do.
We want it. It's hard. That's basically the.
Okay. Here's another one. Here's another common thing. So in the future, will the character customizer be able to scan an imported photo of our own face to generate it into the customizer? This would be helpful and quicker to create our own face from scratch. There's some 2K players in here. What can you tell us?
I would say the first thing that I think of when I hear that is, first of all, awesome. Second of all is solving any of the how to go about solving the issues of what a camera could create. So for example, when we do our skin textures and stuff like that, there's a lot of like requirements, especially again with the physical based rendering. Like we can't have shadows in the diffuse map, right? We have to extrapolate the normal information or height information, essentially, spec cavity, specular occlusion, stuff like that. So the real question is, let's say, the camera can take a picture of your face to eventually bring in as a texture, not going into any additional data that could potentially actually shape a head or something. But assuming we're just talking about textures, I think that those would be the biggest issues to solve, is how do we clean up that data in order to get it game ready by processing the textures, which we currently, artists do, and Clearingle has done for us. So that's just the first thing that pops in my head when I hear that.
I would hope. Sorry, Jacob.
Go ahead, please. No, that was me. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think there are some ways we could go about this. I think once we have all the like 60 heads from our gene pool extension, once they're in and we have their textures, together with the skin tone tinting that we can already do, I think we have enough variety in terms of the textures. I would hope so. In terms of the shapes, it's going to be a problem of like finding a way to recognize the features. There are already like some SDKs out there that we could use to like face detection. FOIP itself does that to a degree. It shows you where the eyes are, where the mouth contours are. So you could leverage that to a degree, recognize those features, and then try to find samples in our gene pool that can approximate this. So we have a vague idea, or pretty good idea, what needs doing. It would be super cool for the players to use that even for NPC creation. You just show a photo, and the software would create that face or approximate it reasonably closely. But again, priorities. It's not very high up on the list, I guess.
I keep thinking about it now. And then even on a simpler turn, just with the skin tone itself, like you could almost like if you knew what the offset is, because what we do with the skin tones now is we calibrate them, we balance them to make sure they're accurate to the real life talent. So if you did have, you know, mid gray or whatever in the shot with you when your image got taken, theoretically, we would know what or some kind of Macbeth chart, obviously that would increase the thing that you would probably, you know, whatever. But theoretically, if you did have some kind of mid gray or something, we would know some offsets on what would actually be happening in your environment to bring you back to a neutral skin tone color that then could be applied using our current palette, at least matching the closest possible. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's a fun one to think about for sure.
Yeah, Andreas mentioned the thing I was thinking about, Faceware, using Faceware to not for the textures,
yeah.
but to determine the location, the spacing of certain things, and just to give you a base shape of the face that you could then that would be somewhat closer to you, that you could start with. That seemed like there's potential there to me. But what do I know?
It's a good idea. No, it's a great idea. I mean, you got to start somewhere. You got to start trying things.
I mean, one thing we already do is with face sculpting, we take a position of a point and we use that to decide what heads to blend between. By the time, once you've got the positions of those points through however we want to detect it through the camera, then it's actually solving the same problem.
That's a fun question. I feel like we were actually in a meeting right now.
The number of things that have come about because of conversations that have happened on this show are plenty. Like the number of email threads I've had after a show like this, like, oh, we talked about this on SCL,
sure.
we talked about this on SCL. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. That goes for people who sometimes wonder why we talk about some things. Will we be able to customize the color of our eyes with more vibrant colors beyond just the natural ones that they currently have?
Yeah, so in the character customizer, as it's going to be in 323, you're going to have pretty much just standard eye colors, but we wanted to push it a little bit just so you can get something that feels a bit out there, feels like, oh, maybe something has happened during these 900 years in the future that we are, after all. So you can maybe make up your own backstory of why your family would have grown to look like that or something along those lines. But so for the time being, we're keeping it more realistic. I think it's going to be something that we will revisit in the future to see what we want to do along the lines of like contact lenses, right? Where you can really just pick any color you want. But yeah, that's a discussion for later.
Okay.
I love that. Because I was talking with one of our talented graphics engineers, Nico, about eyes. And I know me and Gabriel have talked about eyes, Jacob and stuff. And it's something that right now in the character creator, the eyes do have, some, color and all that stuff. But this is an initial kind of prototype of the eyes. We do plan on expanding the way that the eyes currently work to make them better. And one of the things that we discussed was different iris details and stuff like that, which also leads into contacts. It's funny, when we were doing a lot of the balancing of the eye color and looking at the talent's photos, we would zoom in and we would see like weird things sometimes, and we would notice like, oh, I think that's a contact that's actually in there and stuff like that. So we were really getting in there to understand how an eye works and how it renders and stuff like that. So we definitely want to improve that process, give more customization.
What about
definitely.
asymmetric results first?
Yeah, so the asymmetric results, what we were talking about was, so currently you have your eyes as a single mesh, right? And then that has to draw to the screen, a draw call. If we wanted to do two separate asymmetrical colors, the simplest way to do that is to break them up into separate objects. So you could essentially apply one material to one and one material to another. The problem with that is now all of a sudden, and draw calls are really important in game rendering in regards to performance. It's something that we're always trying to minimize as much as possible. So what we were talking about was, instead of having two objects that we have to render to draw calls, is there a way to do vertex markup or some way to determine in the 3D mesh what is left and what is right? You know, you can actually grab a vert, you can give it a color, and with that, we could then take that data. When we get the mesh and go, where's that color on what vert? Okay, it's on this eye side is red, this eye side is colored blue. And now that we've in code, we know that we have them separated, then we can start making the shader support that. So then, you know, Nico, for example, maybe goes into the shader and then starts enhancing that to take advantage of the tech artist doing the vertex coloring on the eye to differentiate what's a left eye and what's a right eye. And theoretically, with all of that, we can start doing additional asymmetrical work with the eyes, one contact, when not contact, one eye color, another eye color, without paying an additional performance cost on the draw calls. You do get a little more shader cost on the shader instructions, of course, but I think that is worth it. And I think, again, the draw call is a big one. We can
So
keep
even
that
a
down.
blind eye, right? You can make a
Yeah,
blind eye
exactly.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, I don't know how that looks from your first person perspective. That would probably be somebody else to
Right. but
elaborate on
it's-
that, but
It's all about the way you look to the others, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, we could cover it with the visor lens things like that. That gives you the restored vision, so it still looks dead, even though that's giving you, it's like it's connected to your optic nerve or something. I look like Danny DeVito. That's how this question starts. I look like Danny DeVito.
I know where this is going.
And never feel represented. How far into cursed territory in the sliders can I go? I don't know if Danny DeVito's cursed.
I mean, they go as far as the processed head scans will go. And already, I'm already thinking, like, because right now, you know, we just have, you know, the group of heads, you know, 9 to 15 or whatever, that pool is going to explode. It is going to get so big and so awesome so soon. I can already think of a head that looks very close to Danny DeVito. So I think you're going to be able to represent yourself, you know, in the near future.
Yeah, it's funny that the Becker or that this question is asked because like when we started out with this gene pool initiative, which is closely related to the DNA system having more variety in there, like we've made like a big like reference matrix of heads and different head types that we wanted represented, and most of them have been obviously celebrities, public figures, politicians, all kinds of people that pretty much everybody will know and recognize, and one of them happened to be Danny DeVito, and yeah, like Forrest said, like we've scanned like all kinds of different shapes. Like I wouldn't want to say extreme, but like the DNA system is the most efficient when it covers all the edge cases and then can interpolate between those. So we have like very, very slim and skinny and narrow faces. We have super wide and heavy faces. We have very angular faces, super masculine. We have all the types you can imagine for various ethnicities. Yeah, just need to process them all. Once that comes in, you'll be able to approximate most people pretty well,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you could already do now, and this is nothing compared to what you will be able to do like in the near future, like for sure. Most definitely. And Andreas has actually spent a long time before we even did the scan going through all of the heads to ensure that we have the best range possible. So there's just, you know, a massive work went into ensuring that the pool is as diverse as possible because we want to be able to create everyone, you know, so. Yeah.
I feel the need to clarify that Danny DeVito is not part of the project. He was not scanned. He is not secretly the PCAP actor for Pico. Any of the things that you see, it's simply it's like you see on any kind of inspo board. We've done the shows with Jeremiah in the past where he's making a character. He's got a bunch of inspo boards. It was one of those things we want faces like Dane DeVito's. It's I don't need an email from Dane DeVito's agent to
Or like
Toast,
Jared.
and then Toast messages me and says, "What the hell did you say on SCL?" And I say, "It's Andreas. Don't come after me." So no.
I think it's also not CIG stance that Danny DeVito would be cursed in any way.
No, we love
that
Danny
seems like a
DeVito.
pretty, that's a pretty harsh statement for a weird one.
Danny DeVito fought Batman.
Yeah. Good fight.
Twins.
Okay. Last question here. We're at time. Congratulations, everybody. You made it through to the end. Obviously, 323 is not the end for the character customizer. We've already had some we've already talked with some from Andre about different new hairstyles and stuff that we want to come up. We mentioned in ISC things like tattoos, things like scars, stuff are still on their way. Lots more faces we've mentioned, up to 60 in just this next batch that we're trying to get in there. So this, I want to ask you, as the people who are working on this and other things, if there's one thing you want to add. I'm going to ask you to answer this as you. You're not a representative of CIG. It's just you're somebody who works here, who puts a lot of time and effort into this. What thing not currently in the character customizer do you want to add? Do you hope that you get to add in the future?
I mean, obviously that's your head. I mean, that's what I would like to add to the character customizer.
Your head.
Your head, Jared.
Anyone else?
I want to add more randomization, right? So we've got some pretty basic randomization being rolled out with 323, but stuff like hair color and things right now, we just sort of randomize a simple natural color, but it'll be super cool to have some advanced stuff with dye and wearing stuff. Yeah, I like randomization. I like hitting that button, and I want to see more cool results.
Okay. How about you,
Yeah,
Andreas?
I think just for the head scan library, it would be awesome to be able to like scan your own face, obviously, and then maybe have it in the bank, like adding to that bank, so someone else could get my disgusting nose on their face. So yeah, that would be something.
Hey, but you bring up a good point. Andreas was talking about this in the pre-chat. You know, scanning the face is only one part of the process of getting a face in here. There's still a lot of processing work that gets done after you sit in the booth and get your stuff done, so like that. But yeah, Andreas, what do you want to add?
I just like to flesh out the preview page a bit more, like the one where you can see like a full character, like the stuff that was mentioned, like applying different animations, different lighting scenarios, even swapping different outfits or something, so you can like see how you end up looking like a fully fleshed out character, together with your facial appearance and everything else that you customized. I think that'll be pretty cool to have more options there. But it's that can be like near endless, spending resources there. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time out of your Friday to hang out with us and answer some questions from the chat. Folks, if you haven't seen it, there was a full ISC dedicated to the character customizer last week. You can check that out. It is one of the many features slated to come online in Alpha 323. For my money, it's one of the most exciting ones, because anything that gives you more ownership of your character, more connection to your character is a good thing for any game, despite what E-Tech might say. Just made him the villain for the show. From now on, I'm going to pick one person. They're going to become the villain for the show.
As long as it's not me.
Every week. And then, of course, if you haven't watched yesterday's episode on To and Fro with Cargo, check that out. Lots of cool stuff coming for the player hangars, precision hangars, the personal hangars, all that stuff, freight elevators, ship elevators, all big changes to life in the verse. That's really the whole 323 patch. 323 patch is just these massive changes to the way you live your life in the verse. So check that out. SCL will not be back next week. There's a 4-day holiday here in UK for, I think it's Easter?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll be back on SCL in 2 weeks with members from the cargo career team, Chad and them. We'll have them on the show here to answer your questions again, just like you saw today. And then next week's show is next week's ISC is the return of Team Kian. Kian and Inez and Gabriel and who's here right now. So this back to talk more features for coming in 323, updates to the visor, the lens, the looting screen, the new shopping app, a bunch of stuff that folks who are playing on the Evocati or the Test Universe are already seeing being tested right now. So thank you to Jacob and Forrest and Andreas and Andre and Gabriel. I got them all for joining us on the show this week. I'm Jared Huckabee. Be sure to spay and neuter your pets. I don't know. Remember Price is Right?
Jared.
Bob Barker. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.